So he is walking towards Capernaum. And now I'm reading from John 6:25. When they found him on the other side of the lake, they asked him, Rabbi, when did you get here? And Jesus answered, I tell you the truth, you are looking for me not because you saw miraculous sign, but because you ate the loaves and had your fill. Do not work for food that spoils, but for food that endures to eternal life, which the Son of Man will give you. On him God the Father has placed his seal of approval. Then they asked him, what must we do to do the works God requires? And Jesus answered, the work of God is this, to believe in the one he has sent. And now I'm going a bit further. And then in 35, explaining them that the miracle they have seen is not just giving them food. It symbolized something that he did not reveal to them there in the desert, this deserty grass. But here in the synagogue is the place to teach, to preach, and here he can explain to them the significance of what happened there. And he said, I am the bread of life. Who comes to me will never go hungry, and he who believes in me will never be thirsty. Any Christians here?
Yes.
Yes.
Are these verses familiar to you?
Yes, definitely.
Did you know that here he taught this?
Oh, yeah.
They did not know till here he just made miracles, and then at some point said, okay, come to the synagogue, and I'll explain you a bit more about what I'm doing here. Not just came to do miracles to make your life more convenient. And then he explained, but as I told you, you have seen me, and still you do not believe. All that the Father gives me will come to me, and whoever comes to me, I will never drive away. And then I go a bit further. Then the Jews began to argue sharply among themselves, how can this man give us his flesh to eat? Let's see. Okay, no one has seen the Father except the one who is from God. Only he has seen the Father. I tell you the truth, he who believes has everlasting life, and I am the bread of life. Your forefathers ate the man in the desert, but yet they died. So the man gave them food, but it did not make them eternal. But here is the bread that comes down from heaven, which a man may eat and not die. And I am the living bread that came down from heaven. If anyone eats this bread, he will live forever. This bread is my flesh, which I will give for the life of the world. Guys, in every church that we go today, what you do, you put bread and you do communion. Right. And this is the first time Jesus explained it. I not just gave you bread there in Tabga. I was educating you to take the bread, and by eating it, connecting yourself to me, eating my flesh. So this is the first time Jesus said it, a lot before the Last Supper here in this synagogue. So this might be a very exciting place to be in. And of course you look at it and say, it's so beautiful. Can these people afford themselves build such a beautiful synagogue?
Of course not.
Yeah, but then you have an answer prepared. What is your prepared answer?
Egeria.
Who built Capernaum synagogue?
The converted Jew.
Maybe.
The centurion.
Oh.
Remember, the centurion loved them so much that even so maybe the Roman centurion could build them such a beautiful synagogue. And then you said, can this synagogue be built by a Roman builder in 1st century? So how can we decide? Tell me, what can we do in order to decide?
The structure, the architect.
The inscription does not have any date. It's not helping us. But first, yes, we can scrutinize the architecture and say, is that look like Roman architecture from 1st century? So I reveal you that the art historian that have looked in all the architecture here said that it's clearly 3rd century. But we have another way to do. What is
maybe facing the east, something. Facing the east, something.
The synagogues to the east?
No, maybe this facing the east.
It is like
Synagogues should not face the east.
As a
Again,
Christian.
Jesus' time, one more minute. We have two options. What is synagogue? Synagogue from Jesus' time is just a semblance area with no direction. You remember?
yes.
You remember in Theodotus he said that he was archisynagogos. You remember? In Second Temple period. By the way, did this synagogue in Second Temple period of Capernaum had an archisynagogos?
Apparently not.
We know his name, Yair. You remember Yair?
Yes.
The father of Talita?
Yes.
He was the archisynagogos of Capernaum. The synagogue captain
Where
of
is it
Capernaum.
mentioned?
We talked on it before about a guy who was the head of the synagogue, the archisynagogos in Capernaum. that his daughter died, Talita, and he called Jesus to resurrect her and tell her, Talita Kumi. Talita was the daughter of the archi-synagogos of Capernaum. Okay? But synagogues after Jesus' time, in Byzantine time, were at a direction. They were facing Jerusalem. This one was facing Jerusalem. Actually, there was here some lectern for prayer. So we know that this one faced Jerusalem. Again, not fitting Jesus' time.
So
And
how do we recognize?
one more way to recognize the time of building.
Inscription.
No inscriptions here.
The time of building, you said?
What do you do with stones?
Well, we got basalt lower, right?
Maybe.
Yeah, but how do you know it's
Maybe
late?
from the
Carbon 14?
So carbon 14 you can do on stone. You need
maybe
something
from the
organic.
capitals of the columns.
This is what I told you, 3rd century.
Okay.
The style, the architectural style is 3rd century. Guys, we have one more way to decide the age of buildings, to take out the
Coins?
floor and look for coins under them. Okay? So this was done also. And when they took out the floor and saw coins beneath it, the coins are from late 4th century. This means that this synagogue is late 4th, even 5th century. Does not even fit its architectural style. So this is very, very confusing. And this is the riddle of Capernaum. Guys, the most beautiful synagogue, Byzantine synagogue in Galilee, the most beautiful Byzantine synagogue in all Galilee, is in Capernaum, the town of Jesus, is so adjacent to a big, beautiful, octagonal, important church. It has so many beautiful decorations around that they know when they try to rebuild it with the column, the heading of the column, they do not have enough space. So a lot of them are there because too many beautiful decorations to put all of them in one building. How do you explain it? So no one knows. This is the riddle of Capernaum, and again, all of it is white. Guys, is there a white stone in here?
No, this is limestone.
All of this was brought from far away. This is a riddle. No one knows the answer. I tell you several options. First, under us, there are basalt walls, as Tony mentioned before. There is basalt walls, much simpler, much like a local village, and under it there is a basalt floor from 1st century. So under us there is a basalt floor from 1st century. So if we believe that because Capernaum was never destroyed in any earthquake or any war, it must be the same place of the synagogue, right? So under our knees for sure there is, under our feet for sure there is the synagogue of Jesus' time. Because they wouldn't move it.
Based upon the coins that were found.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you can see there are basalt walls under this one, which we don't know where they are, but under the basalt wall there is basalt floor, which you can take out and see the coins, and you can see for sure that this basalt floor is from Jesus' time. This is the synagogue from Jesus' time, built by the centurion. But about this one, no need to know for the exam, but last research had an offer. And the offer is that when I brought you, and I put you in the synagogue, the same synagogue when Jesus taught about the bread, the one was built by the centurion, the one whose archi-synagogos was Yair, you were excited, right? And once I told you this one is Byzantine, you were disappointed, right? Maybe in Byzantine time, which is the big time of tourism in this area till modern time, people were straying around Sea of Galilee. And when they came to Capernaum, and they did not see the synagogue of Jesus' time because it was destroyed, because it was poor, because it was not beautiful, they were disappointed. So the locals of Capernaum said, okay, we can do touristic affairs here. Let's build the most beautiful synagogue ever seen in Galilee, just by the church, so people can visit the church and the synagogue of Jesus. And this whole synagogue was built so beautifully, so amazing, so astonishing
So it can
in
make
Byzantine
sense,
time for the Byzantine tourists, that they can see the church and the synagogue, and they were actually built together, because in 5th century this was probably built reusing 3rd century columns that were taken from different destructed synagogues, rebuilt together as a synagogue, exactly together with the octagonal church that was built on the same time, on the same level. And this was the touristic site that brought all the finance to Byzantine Capernaum, and they think that that's why Capernaum totally converted from Jews to Christians, and it became from Jewish town to Christian town. Okay?
These were Jewish tour guides.